Chapter 99 is not the last chapter in Hoseki no Kuni, and neither is Chapter 100. Volume 12 came out in Japanese this past month, which compiles chapters 89 to 98. So is Ichikawa really gonna put out just a pamphlet for 99 or 100? That doesn't make any sense. These are the total amount of pages for volumes 11 and 12 respectfully, so with Chapter 99's 20-ish pages, we have about 170 pages remaining for a volume 13, assuming it'll be the same size as previous ones. Malu from the Chapter 98 stream pointed out that Phos in their divine form, which didn't change like I thought it might between Chapter 98 and 99, in fact has 6 fingers on each hand. And we actually see a splitting of the ring finger in Chapter 97 when the doctor initiates the transformation. What's really cool outside of this amazing reveal that I definitely didn't pick up, even after rereading, is the way that Ichikawa goes about giving us this information in Chapter 98 by hiding Phos's hands all the way up until moments before prayer. And the panel the page before used as the connection between the chapters where the backgrounds have opposite colors, playing into that stark black and white beginning sequence of Chapter 99, that line between everything and nothing. Polydactyly, the condition in which someone is born with an extra finger or toe, is the dominant form, whereas the 5 fingers that people have is the recessive form. But whether or not a trait is common has to do with how many copies the gene or allele is in the population itself, which is why most people have 5-fingered hands. It's interesting then that the doctor that we see in Chapter 97 has 5 fingers. So where is this extra one coming from? This might come from the Buddhist statue in the Longmen Grottos, although this seems like it points to a higher level of enlightenment, which of course could be the reason that Ichikawa chose to give Phos 6 fingers in this new form. But historical records actually show that the statue was ordered to be based on the image of the Yuanjin Emperor, the 5th of the Northern Way. So is it really about a higher being? Sure, there is no separation of church and state at this point in time in history, as the highest ruling body was seen as divine, but it still means that those 6 fingers are a model off of a human being, and thus another dreg that got dug up with Doctor's final wish. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this new form change, because I don't really have much knowledge on Buddhism. The rock is one of the best things that's happened in this series because we actually got a happy Phos back, and I didn't think this was possible. There's this playful banter of Phos flexing a little about the rings of Saturn, like what a character. Speaking of, let's talk about the White Dwarf. I won't go into why our sun is not the White Dwarf in a technical sense. You can watch this video that explains what white dwarfs are really well, and a lot of things like the grass still existing doesn't fully line up with our Hoseki no Kuni world that we see in Chapter 99. But there's another huge indicator as to why our sun is still around, and it plays into the theming of the background of this chapter. It's actually really straightforward when I point it out. We go from a purely black sky when Phos wakes up to Pebble-san, and the gradient of the light from the horizon gets bigger and bigger with every passing page until we see that beautiful gray final page where Dwayne and Phos are just having some good vibrations while they stare at the sky. This light source obviously has to be the sun still, which exists and is still outputting proper light. The White Dwarf could be where we go in the next chapter, as it might be where the rest of humanity was sent. At least Phos is not alone now with their pet rock, but do you know what you can do to make their life a little more happy? That's right, hit that subscribe button. We are aiming to be the 10,000 sufferers strong so that Phos never has to be alone ever again, and you can do this for free. You won't regret it. Do it for Phos. What I figured were the eyes or the vestiges of eyes in Phos during their blinking that could have happened in Chapter 98 is continued here in this chapter with the left eye wide open, almost like a little callback to the pearl that could never close across hundreds, thousands, millions, and even billions of years as Phos went back to sleeping in the grass, just like the beginning of the series, even if this is the beginning of the end. Because Phos was offering eyes to a rock shows that Phos still holds this sight to a higher regard, probably stemming from Chapter 64, which Camilla Ra 8951 points out brilliantly in their comment on the Chapter 99 stream of how Kongo inadvertently made the gems more uniform and thus more human by giving them eyes and shaping their bodies and perspective. Although both come from a desire to help, it originates from their humanistic thinking that these inclusions are based off of. Even without their inclusions, Phos says some very human things to Rocky in this chapter. Just like even without their humanity, Kongo as a machine still wished and experienced very human things. Another neat parallel between the two that we got was with the line, "You are kind and speak gently to me," which kind of reminded me of two instances in the past, chapter 31 and chapter 76. Although both seem to work, the context in the Japanese gives chapter 76 more of a tie to this moment in chapter 99 because they both flow as observations of another being. Rocky is saying it in the presence of Phos, who they can't really see but can definitely feel, while Phos is imagining their Kongo, which they can't see, but after sealing their resolve on this final attempt at peace for everyone. Just like people theorize that Phos's face structure could be modeled off the designs that we saw at the beginning of episode 2 of the anime, Ichikawa might have taken another thing from the anime, which is the cyclical nature of the beginning and end from episode 1 to episode 12's opening section, where the sequence of Phos going to Kongo was shown beat for beat, although the context has changed significantly. Here Ichikawa takes it to a step even further by giving us the black panels and page layout of the first 3 pages of chapter 1 after the color page, which is just genius to show the passage of time. I mean, I've read about 100 or so manga, and although that barely scratches the surface of the medium, it is insane. I always saw Morg and Goshen as the biggest indicator of the passage of time for Phos, and the fact that the rock calls to Phos twice just like Morg lets us know that time has also progressed during this black phase, even if, just like chapter 96, we don't know exactly how much time has passed because it's negligible at this scale. That same cyclical nature continues because it was established in chapter 98, as Sniping Lasers pointed out in the chapter 98 stream, that we're actually on the cliff that started Phos's journey, and that Dwayne ended up here as well. After 98, I was confused. I didn't really understand why Phos kept saying that they were all alone. The chapter's brevity finally had got to me, and I couldn't really get any meaning that I was proud to share with you guys. I thought Phos was the most condescending in chapter 98 than any other chapter, even during the invasion moment, because they claimed to show mercy for those that tossed them aside. It came off as really snarky, because Phos was the type of character who would rather live up to their potential than just to lie there and live with the consequences, like we saw at the beginning of chapter 99. At Caleb James's 3033's comment on the chapter 98 stream changed everything after I read chapter 99, because of the confirmation that we got that Phos fully and perfectly prayed away every portion of humanity, those inclusions in the Lunarians, the past Admirables, future and past Lustrious. Phos's lines in chapter 98 wasn't so demeaning after all. Compared to Kongo's cold mechanical prayer, which bled into the other parts of humanity, Phos's is really a warm, encompassing one, just enough to burn away the remains of what makes everyone else human. Ichikawa calls us out explicitly in chapter 97, saying that humans attach meaning to everything just so that the world can feel and have a little more structure. And this is the last thing that Phos has to throw away to become content. When you know everything, there isn't a single moment that goes by without another thought, another memory that screams for your attention when you're not really there. Phos loses a part of themselves in Kongo and subsequently Doctor's memory. Just like every other time something new is incorporated into their body, a piece of them gets worn out. Every occurrence gets washed away by the sea of every other possibility of what could have been. Every rejection and every disappointment has led Phos here to this end goal. And sure, it isn't their fault, but our main character was always stubborn, aimless, and a mess, just like any other human. But their world is filled with people who are kind, patient, and forgiving to make up for what Phos lacks. These others may have been scared and fighting for their survival, but even with everything lost and pieces everywhere, the core of what makes Phos remains. They are them and nothing else. Phosphophyllite is phosphophyllite. It's as simple as that. A volume versus magazine differences will be out in for Hoseki no Kuni. You can watch the live stream for chapter 99. But I'll see you guys when the big triple digits comes out. Peace.